Yow, man! Welcome! This will be the first installment in the NFL Curse series, where I go through each one, telling its history and story, as well as rank the validity of it. I'm recording these all at the same time. Some more curses are soon to follow, and I will have out compilations as well, so stay tuned for more. For our first curse, we will be kicking things off with the Madden Curse. I hope you enjoy the series. We'll start off with perhaps the most well-known curse in recent times. It's the Madden Curse. The legend is that the player who finds himself featured on the cover of the video game will experience misfortune the subsequent season, either through an extreme decline in play, suffering a potentially major injury, or something even worse. The Madden Curse is infamous for a reason. It can be quite vicious, especially in its heyday. It started off strong. Running back Garrison Hurst was chosen to be the face of Madden 99. The following year, Hurst actually improved his numbers, exploding for over 2,000 yards from scrimmage and playing well in the 49ers wildcard win. However, it seems the curse was merely toying with him, as on the first play from scrimmage in the divisional round of the playoffs, Hurst suffered a gruesome ankle injury that would unfortunately run into more complications, leading to him missing the next 2 seasons. The following year featured the great Barry Sanders on the cover, and right before the season started, he chose to retire, still in his prime. My theory is that he knew he was dealing with 2 curses now, because the Lions themselves were also cursed. We'll talk about that. So he wisely decided to retire from football before the season began. It did technically claim his career, as he never played again, but he at least avoided major injury or something else. I can only imagine the double whammy he avoided. Over the years, the curse has hit players in different ways, but it doesn't always take effect. Going from 2001 onwards, Eddie George is next. A star running back for the Titans, George might be our first exception to the curse. He was fine that year, although he did get the ball stripped from him by Ray Lewis in the playoffs, which directly led to the Titans losing. After that, he would deal with injuries and take a step back in efficiency, but was still reliable, never missing a game until his final season. The curse may have worn him down, or just being an NFL running back may have done so. Dante Culpepper had his breakout campaign as a second-year quarterback for the Vikings. Unfortunately, the rising star would suffer setback after setback, declining significantly in production the following year, as well as nursing a knee injury. It would be a few years before Culpepper would achieve the heights of his potential again, and even then, it was short-lived. Marshall Faulk, who was in the latter half of his career, but also seemingly still in his prime, would deal with nagging injuries and for the first time, fail to achieve 1,000 yards rushing, which he would never achieve again. Michael Vick, perhaps the greatest player in the history of the video game, followed up his cover-winning season with a broken leg the day after release, missing 11 games that year, although he would have much bigger problems a few years later. Despite breaking his wrist, Ray Lewis would only miss 1 game, and although it was his first season without recording an interception, it seems he was able to overcome the curse. Donovan McNabb would miss 7 games with injury after gracing the cover, as well as be embroiled in an infamous public feud with wide receiver Terrell Owens. McNabb and the Eagles declined significantly after reaching the Super Bowl the year before. After an insane 2005 MVP season, Shaun Alexander would suffer an injury the following one, and never truly recover, being out of the league just a couple seasons later. This is one of the most notable instances of the curse. After a promising Rookie of the Year season, Vince Young's career would take a sharp nosedive. Between controversies, injuries, poor mental health, and poor decision-making, Young's once bright future as a pro instead transpired into a dark, cautionary tale. Madden 09 featured a recently retired Brett Favre. However, right before its release, he came out of retirement to play for the New York Jets. The season started off strong. Favre threw 6 touchdowns in Week 4, but the second half of the season would be a disastrous finish to an overall disappointing comeback campaign. This would also be the year when Favre sent pics of his pecker to Jen Sturger. Madden 2010 would feature 2 players on the cover, 2 of my all-time favorites, in Larry Fitzgerald and Troy Polamalu. Polamalu may have gotten hit, as he missed all but 5 games that season with a knee injury. But Larry seems to have gotten the best of the curse, having another Pro Bowl year. Up until this point, the Madden Curse has been quite effective, hitting more often than not. However, it's now where we begin to see its power begin to wane. Drew Brees is next, and is another that seems to have beaten the curse, although he would throw a career-high 22 interceptions, and the Saints' playoff run would end abruptly with the legendary Beastquake, but we'll save that for later. Peyton Hillis is one of the more random players to grace the cover, as his career turned out to be a one-year wonder. Following his breakout campaign, Hillis would sit out games, seeking a new contract, and deal with injuries and illness. The Browns let him go, and soon the whole league did as well. Next would be Calvin Johnson, who seems to have gotten the better of the curse, although like his Lions Madden cover counterpart, Barry Sanders, Megatron would retire in his prime, just a few years removed from his Madden appearance. Another NFC North great would be the next cover athlete, Adrian Peterson. That season he would decline, somewhat, rushing for 800 less yards. But to be fair, he had 2,000 yards rushing the year before, so it wasn't exactly a bad year. However, the following season would be catastrophic, as AED was accused of violently beating his son and suspended all but one game. Despite playing for many more years after that, the incident has certainly tarnished much of Peterson's legacy. Next up, Richard Sherman, who also seems to have gotten the better of the curse, although this would also be the year where the Seahawks lost the Super Bowl in dramatic fashion, something they never seemed to really recover from, so I suppose you could attribute that to the curse. After him is Odell Beckham Jr., who followed up his Madden appearance with another solid season. But after that, OBJ suffered a slow and steady decline to his career. Rob Gronkowski would miss the majority of the season, including the entire Patriots playoff run, which did include a Super Bowl victory, so perhaps a silver lining there. We then saw back-to-back Patriots on the cover, as 2018 would feature Tom Brady. Brady laughed at the curse as he put up an MVP season, although the Patriots would come up short in the Super Bowl that year against Nick Foles and the Eagles. Perhaps no player was more greatly affected by the curse than Antonio Brown. AB had a fine season that year, but it would be his last full season, as by the end of it, he was voicing his displeasure with the team. His downward spiral is too long to include, even for this video, but yeah, he was never quite the same. Patrick Mahomes would be next, and it's at this point where the curse seems to have lost much of its power. Yeah, he missed 2 games that year with an injury, but he won his first Super Bowl. Following that, Lamar Jackson's numbers took a bit of a dip, but he seems to have avoided the curse as well. After that, it was Mahomes and Brady on the cover, and both had great seasons, although neither did make the Super Bowl, so maybe something there. The next Madden featured the late, great John Madden, so no curse potential that year. And the one after that was Josh Allen, who had another great season, but came up short again in the playoffs, although I think that might just be a Bills thing. The most recent cover player is Christian McCaffrey, and we'll see if the curse takes effect or not. Hopefully not, as I have him in fantasy. So, as I was finishing this video, CMC was just rolled out with an injury for the Monday night game, the first of the season, so there's that. The Madden Curse got off to a pretty strong start, being downright lethal at times, but many players have since been able to avoid it entirely, and that seems to be the case, in recent years especially, as it has definitely lost some power. One theory is that the curse hit Antonio Brown so hard that it broke the curse, as it has no remaining power. My theory is that the curse still exists, but it's a weakening one, being directly linked to the state of the actual game, with Madden being a worse and worse release each year. Like the game, the curse is a joke at this point. Should Madden return to form and actually be good, I'd be concerned for that year's player, but as it stands now, I think the Madden curse is easily broken.